I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Corporate officer, any late items? No late items. If I could get approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Betts, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor? That carries. Consent agenda. Anybody want to remove anything? Councillor Barkwell?
Item 4.5B, if I could. The procurement report.
Okay. That's D? Oh, it's B.
4.5B. B, yeah.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Betts?
Item correspondence 4.4C from the Destination Summerland.
Okay. That's the chamber, right? Yeah. Okay. And Councillor Peak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I have the development services report removed?
So 4.4A.
That is correct.
Okay. So those all go down to item 11. And I get approval of the consent agenda as amended. Councillor oh, sorry.
If I may, I can't remember. Is the letter from the Mines Ministry in this batch? I read it separately.
I believe so. It's not on.
Let's pull that one out as well, if we could.
Okay, so do you know what letter that is?
It's D.
D? Oh,
So whichever. And D.
A and let's just say A and D. Okay, so get approval of the consent agenda as amended. Councillor Betts, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor? That carries. We go straight into my report. On October 16th, CEO Stat and I met with our counterparts in Peachland, their CEO Joe Crennan and Mayor Patrick Van Minsel, where we discussed several issues of common concern. We agreed to collaborate in our efforts to get BC Hydro to connect to the Summerland electrical grid system in order to provide a redundant power source for both our communities. We also agreed to work together to press the provincial government for highway improvements and alternate routing options in light of the Highway 97 rock slide that continues to impact travel between Summerland and Peachland. On October 17th, Councillor Van Elfen and I attended the regular board meeting of the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, where directors agreed to supply curbside carts to homes in the rural areas as they join Summerland, Penticton, and Oliver in the transition to automated garbage recycling and yard waste collection starting in July. The board also approved the installation of surveillance cameras at the Campbell Mountain Landfill, Okanagan Falls Landfill, Oliver Landfill, and the Karamias Transfer Station. All these sites have had break-ins recently, showing that the problem of theft and vandalism at landfills is widespread and not limited to just here in Summerland. The RDOS board discussed introducing Saturday and evening service to the Route 70 bus service to Kelowna, but it was decided to postpone a decision to sign a memorandum of understanding for future expansion until BC Transit was able to provide some costings. At the end of the meeting, the board gave Councillor Van Elfen a heartfelt send-off, as it was his last board meeting as an RDOS director. We didn't quite break out into singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, but almost. So on behalf of council, I would like to extend my gratitude to Councillor Van Elfen for his service at the regional district over the past 2 years. And I know we can be confident that Summerland will continue to have effective representation at the regional level as Councillor Barkwell takes over the second Summerland seat on the RDS board starting this week. The Royal Canadian Legion's annual Poppy campaign begins each year on the last Friday of October, which this year fell on the 25th. By tradition, the Governor General receives the first poppy for Canada, and in towns across the country, the mayor receives the first poppy for their community. So it was my honor to once again receive this year's poppy. This is actually my third poppy. I keep losing them, but it was an honor to receive this year's poppy from Doug McKay of the Summerland Legion. The November 11th Remembrance Day ceremony will be held as usual at Memorial Park. And as mayor, it will be an honor to lay a wreath at the cenotaph on behalf of the district and the people of Summerland. Finally, council was in budget deliberations on October 30th and 31st for the 2025 financial plans for the water, sewer, and electrical utilities. CAO Stat will speak to the proposed utility rate increase in his report, as well as timing on the online open house. But I'd just like to say it's a council priority to invest in core infrastructure, and modest rate increases are needed not only to keep up with an increasing operational and capital costs, but also to build up the reserves we need for future infrastructure renewal. That's my report, and I'll ask CO for his.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is with a heavy heart that I share the passing of Devin Vandermeulen recently to personal health complications. Working with the district for more than 17 years, Devin was among our longest serving and most devoted team members. Over his time here, Devin was promoted several times to roles of progressive responsibility, rising to the position of manager of the water utility. He demonstrated excellence in the management and oversight of critical utility projects and system functions so that all of us could enjoy safe drinking water and reliable sewer services. He was a true public servant, quietly and dutifully performing his role with commitment and consistency. His wise counsel and keen sense of humor will be greatly missed. The district has been pressing the provincial mining department to provide more detailed reasons for their decision to provide authorization for a new gravel pit in the heart of the sensitive Garnet Valley ecosystem. Last week, they did provide more detailed reasons as to their rationale and the issues they considered, which we have uploaded to the district website and posted on Facebook to keep everyone informed. They're also in council's package today, as you're aware. It does not appear that based currently on the content of their letter to us, that the province intends to retreat from their original decision. So we will continue our work with the Penticton Indian Band and the Garnet Valley Agritourism Association on this matter. It is not too late to share your feedback on our draft transportation plan. The online survey remains open until November 12th. Residents are encouraged to participate. Everyone's input is crucial in shaping the future of transportation in our community for many years to come. For more information and to access the survey, check out our website. That's http://www.summerlandtransportationplan.ca. Finally, now that budget deliberations have concluded for the electrical, sewer, and water utilities, we are planning to conduct a virtual open house on Tuesday, November 19th, starting at 5 p.m. The current proposal envisions a 6.51 rather, utility rate increase to the typical single-family home, which will ensure we keep up with inflation on operational and capital costs, while also making reserve contributions to help with infrastructure renewal, including the replacement of a bioreactor for the sewage treatment plant, burying power lines under Wharton Street, and separating treated and irrigation water mains under a key section of Victoria Road. The open house will include a question and answer period, and pre-registration is not required. Please check out the district press release on our website for more information. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to make a comment about Devin. Actually, I don't think I can. He's one of the few persons, he's one of the very, I knew him before I was elected, one of the very few district employees I knew before I was elected. We moved to Summerland around the same time. Our sons were the same age. They played hockey together. Spent many hours in the stands getting to know him. He's a great man.
Not questions, but I, like you, knew Devon before I was on council, and he had such a wonderful family, and his children were well involved in the community. And more recently, I met all of them when I was in at the Beanery, and then saw them again at the dance recital. And my heart goes out to the family. They will so miss this man, and this community will miss the energy and the devotion that he had within his job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Peak. We'll move on to the agenda delegations, and Lisa, please come on up. Lisa Scott from the Okanagan Smelkameen Invasive Species Society.
There should be a PowerPoint coming up. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Holmes and councillors. I'm pleased to be here today. As was stated, my name is Lisa Scott. I'm a local resident. I'm here today as the Executive Director of OASIS, the Okanagan and Smelkameen Invasive Species Society. Here with me today in the audience is our Field Operations Manager, Elaine Desjardins. I'm proud to be work, play, and reside on the traditional unceded territory of the Syilx people. I think you're all familiar with our organization, OASIS. We have been doing work with and for the District of Summerland for well over a decade now. And I'm here today to provide an update on the work that we completed in 2024. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. All right. We are in the second year of a 3-year contract for the district. Just a quick recap of how this came about. We have been supporting the district through the regional district of Okanagan Smelkameen, as I mentioned, for over a decade. But in 2020, there was the public, many residents raised alarm about an invasive plant called Horiolisum, a white flowering mustard, which can be seen in this slide. When that came to the district, there was a concerted effort thereafter and funding directly provided to our organization from Summerland to focus on treatment of Horiolisum, which has since grown to include other invasive plants within district boundaries. So the work that we do for the municipality is multifold, and for the on-the-ground work, it includes a combination of survey work or inventories, treatment, which is manual or mechanical. We work closely with the mowing program that the district staff. We also do herbicide spot application. And of course, it's important that we evaluate and monitor the work that we do so that we can improve on efficacy each year. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I can do that. Here's a table showing the results from this year. So in terms of observations or sites, there were a total of 21 sites, which added up to just over 8 hectares of invasive plants. For those 21 sites, 3 were treated manually or mechanically, totaling 0.09 hectares. And there were 25 chemical treatments. The number is higher than the number of sites because we take a 2-pass approach in some situations for a total of 0.23 hectares. And I will point out that we're happy to show that 3 of the sites there were no plants found. And ultimately, this is the goal. And each year we anticipate this number increasing and the number of sites hopefully decreasing. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So just 2 slides here to show you some before and after, some visuals. So this is municipal land off Eileen Avenue, before treatment on the left in 2021 and after treatment in 2024. Significant reduction in the horiolism. And then here on Simpson Road, near South Victoria intersection, along the KVR before treatment in 2023 on the left, and an inset photo just to show you the white flowering horiolism again. And then after treatment on the right in 2024, and quite a healthy plant community rebounding with a healthy bunch grass community. And it's just really coming back nicely with very limited horiolism now. In addition to the on-the-ground work, we provide support to Summerland staff shown here at a training event. We keep in touch throughout the field season. We also do work within the community. We do door-to-door contact. We focused on 2 species this year, Himalayan balsam, which show a new patch showed up in Lower Town, and also puncture vine in the Gartrell Road area. We provide information to the district for social media posts and do our own posts. And we also provide an article just about every month for the newsletter. This year, we had some additional funding to focus on invasive trees. I was here a year ago, and Councillor Barkwell expressed his concern about Tree of Heaven, and there was some discussion. And there were funds set aside specifically to conduct work on invasive trees this year. And I'll just, in the next few slides, I'll show you the results. So you can see a map of the district here on this slide. We were able to conduct an inventory of 117 kilometers of roads and trails in the district. So that's not every single road, but we got very good coverage. And on this map here, it illustrates the findings of the invasive tree locations. So I'll highlight for you the limey green color, that is Siberian elm. The blue is Tree of Heaven. The orange is Russian olive, and the yellow is black locust. So you can see by far the Siberian elm is the most dominant tree species in the district. And here's a table showing the breakdown. So a total of just over 21 hectares of invasive trees within municipal boundaries for the areas that we inventoried. Siberian elm at nearly 13.5 hectares, Russian olive at 3.3, Tree of Heaven at 2.8, and black locust at 1.6. And I would just like to give huge accolades right now to some of your staff who are, as I speak, working on removing Tree of Heaven in the very location that this photo happens to be. What a great coincidence. I just went out and spoke with the invasive plant brushing crew with Susie Kedge out there, and that patch that you can see in this picture on Fosbury Road, it's gone. And it should be gone effectively due to the appropriate techniques that staff are taking. So I really commend the work that staff are doing right now. This really is precedent setting in the South Okanagan municipalities, and I commend them, and I really encourage the district to continue to fund this very important work. That concludes my presentation. I look forward to working with staff, Mayor and Council next year and future years, and happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you very much. It's always impressive, but you come every year and see the work that's been done. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate the fact that you've been able to do that inventory. That's really good basic work to be able to work forward on. And like you, I'm very pleased that we have staff that are aware and they keep their eye open and they speak about it and they work on it. I wanted to ask about Siberian elm because I noticed that they are so prolific in their seeds. If people have that on their private property, is it best just to dig the tree out, or can you speak about how best to treat this invasive tree?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Peak. Because of the huge interest and concerns surrounding invasive trees this year, we've done a concerted effort, not only in the municipality of Summerland, but also with our work with the regional district. So we've actually created an information fact sheet on all the trees that provides pros and cons of all the different techniques. So it really depends on what the landowner is willing and able to do. But we have that posted on our website. But there's several different techniques that could be done.
Councillor Trainer?
I was just going to say, I saw your crews around a lot more this summer, which was really neat to see. And I've seen all of your social media posts. So I think that you're really doing a good job being out in the community and then also educating people. So yeah, and I also really like that you're working closely with staff. You're such a resource to have in our community. So I think it's really great when we can use local people to help who have local knowledge. And yeah, I just wanted to say good work this summer.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Trainer.
Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the presentation. You know, I'm the newest one on council, so it's been nice to see this ongoing work happening in our community. We have Tree of Heaven on our property and we've been trying to get rid of it. And then of course, you know, you do one thing, but if you don't have the expertise, it's actually not what should be done. And then it starts growing everywhere, all over your property. So now it's magnified. But the reason I'm mentioning this is just that the Oasis group has this website that we can go. I went on there right now and just clicked on it to try and look through your treatment and disposal tips. And I'm really happy to see that there's some things that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at good quality resources on how to mitigate the problem on our own, on our personal properties, you know, and compared to just the district properties. So thanks for kind of keeping the website updated, and I think continuing to put it in the messaging that is coming into the newsletter to direct our residents onto the website so that they can find those tips as well, I think would be really useful.
Thank you, Councillor Betts. I will add that we did just submit an application to the South Okanagan Conservation Fund for a South Okanagan invasive tree management project, of which District of Summerland, City of Penticton, Town of Oliver, and the relevant areas of the RDOS. It will apply to all of those areas as partners. And so that will really add to the existing information we have available, have demonstration sites within each municipalities, provide more support on private properties, and purchase replacement trees when private landowners take down an invasive tree. We will provide them with a free native tree free of charge. So we're fingers crossed that funding is approved, and it will really be able to enhance the South Okanagan work.
And did you want a letter of support for that?
Thank you for that. We did receive one from Sean Goodsell, so thank you. The deadline was October 31st, so.
Okay, all good. Councillor Barkle?
Just as a reminder, the Tree of Heaven is particularly important in terms of the economic consequences it can have, as it's a favorite host for a moth or insect that would has devastated the wine industry in some areas in the US. So I think we need to continue to make that one a particular priority. And I always view this sort of thing as a stitch in time saves nine. If we can get on it hard for not only the Tree of Heaven and the Siberian elms and the other species, you know, we could maybe save money in the long run as we knock them right down. And I know it's a game of whack-a-mole, but it's certainly, if we can reduce the population by going at it extra hard, subsequent years should be less expensive and less work. So I guess, and I really don't feel like I'm in a position to evaluate how much in the way of resources we need to put on this in order to do it, but I turn to maybe our Director of Public Works, Mr. Mitchell, to give us some thoughts on that. And also ask him whether it's feasible for us to have a program, particularly for the Tree of Heaven. If people, when considering our population, which I'll make 2 points here, is largely elderly and may not be able to handle taking out larger trees. And also, I think our community is particularly environmentally sensitive and would not object to us putting the necessary resources to this. To have a program where maybe if you have a Tree of Heaven in your yard and you can't deal with it, contacting the district to take it out. I mean, normally it would go to, Arbor Tree Services or something, but being that this is a invasive species and a real priority to us, I'd hate to see it, the sort of the cost of it being a barrier for its removal. So let me put that question to council and Mr. Mitchell as to, is it feasible? Do they have the resources? What would they need? Those sort of questions.
Thank you, through the mayor. Yeah. So our tree removal budget is quite limited within the district as we're going into budget, and we'll discuss that. The district's priority right now is to deal with that, all the trees that are on public property, trying to get rid of as many of those as we can and deal with that problem. Potentially there are either through this grant or through other mechanisms, talking to our CAO, there are other budgets we can look at for tree replacements. So if people take a tree down on their property, potentially we can provide them 1 or 2 as a replacement alternative for the tree that they do remove. But for the district to go onto private property, it is a very tricky one to tackle. Our focus right now is definitely on the public land side of the road, some of those larger areas that we saw in the graphic there. So tree removal is a very expensive endeavor, especially when these trees grow extremely fast and they're always beside a power pole or a power line or a house or something like that. So they're not just go out there and chop it down with our crews for the most part. We do have to bring in, for some of them, experts to do the work, and that is quite pricey. So definitely something we can discuss at budgets. We are looking at increasing the tree removal budget a little bit due to some of the danger trees and potentially work like this for the coming year, but happy to discuss that.
I guess when we're talking about trees on private properties, one thing I've heard from people is they don't understand which trees are the problems necessarily. Where they think all my trees are invasive. They're not from here originally. A maple tree is invasive, right? So and I've been asked, so why is my Russian olive considered bad, but my maple here is fine, and they're both, neither of them are both from here. So I think that's, the communication I need help with is being able to explain which of those ones, why are those ones that we're trying to eradicate, or, what is the reasons for those? And these other trees they're not doing any harm. So, I don't know, it's a big question, but I think that's communication needs to be add to the public. So, Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I know that there's been grants through FCM for tree plantings, and I wonder if we could continue to look for grants that are a possibility for removal of invasive trees. And I might ask Oasis through Lisa Scott to keep an eye out, because we would be more than willing to make application should grants become available. So if you could help us out in that endeavor, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Peak. I will do that. I know there is a federal fund right now to make purchase for tree replacement, but I don't believe it covers the removal end of things, but we can through, if we're successful with the South Okanagan Conservation Fund, it does include as I say, we would have a demonstration site within the district of Summerland and hold a workshop to encourage residents to come out to learn how to properly identify as well as the different techniques and show people, because I think that's really where you have the greatest impact. But we will enhance our outreach tools and education as well, as per Mayor Holmes' comment, to make sure people know how to identify the different trees and understand the challenges and the impacts so that they're inspired to take action.
Councilor Barkle.
I'm aware of some of the difficulties staff have, even when trees are on the right of way. The right of way might look like somebody's yard because that's what people do. And getting hold of trees that straddle the right of way and getting hold of absentee owners and stuff, it takes a long time. I'm thinking of some places at Crescent Beach. I know that it was forever getting some really large trees out. So when staff come to council with the budget this year and talk about, expanding this service, I hope they come with some rationale for, hitting it hard and hitting it quick, and the idea of maybe reducing it later. And that's really just going along and doing it half-heartedly, I think, is more expensive in the long run. We can't get at it. Thanks.
Thank you. Don't see any others. So thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate it. It's public comment period. There's nobody online, is there? So no, so there's no members of the public here to comment. We'll move on to our business items. 9.1, Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. Chief Robinson, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hope you'll support me in my request for decision here for 7 sets of structure turnout gear in the amount of $39,185. The purchase of new gear will allow the department to replace expired or expiring and damaged turnout personal protective equipment. The process will be in accordance with the municipal procurement policy to ensure responsible and cost-effective purchasing aligns with a selection of gear that meets all required standards. The addition of the equipment will improve the ability of our firefighters to provide fire protective services to the citizens of Summerland. The structure gear has a 10-year shelf or wear life and then needs to be replaced. We are mandated by WorkSafe and National Fire Protection Association to do this. So that's why this year, this is one of those grants that we've done in the past every year. And we thought this year we would look to getting turnout gear. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rob, could you tell me who's manufacturing these? And I'm hoping it might be Canadian.
There are many manufacturers across the world, and we choose one that's made in Canada here in Toronto, Canada. It's the ones that you might have seen in the news where Vancouver Fire Department purchased a bunch of gear, and we use the same company they do.
Thank you. Councillor Shaner.
I'll bring forward the recommendation. I said a quick question. What do you do with the old gear once you transition it out? Does it get donated or does it have to be disposed? No, I don't want it. I was just asking. Does it get recycled? I don't know.
Through the mayor, yeah, Halloween just ended. So traditionally we've been keeping the gear and using it for paid on call members that aren't going into fires to start with. So we have gear probably 20 years old still in the back room because we have many different sizes of people. And until they pass their probation of 2 years, and they are able to go into a burning building, then we change that gear out. So we keep it for a long time.
Councillor Peak.
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to our fire chief. It's always very difficult to say no to your requests because it's for the safety of those who do so much for our community and you know, I just trust that that's for the best. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Okay, no further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed? That motion carries. It's now the corporate officer hours. Move on to 9.2, the first of the two loan authorization bylaws. Corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So before council is the required loan authorization bylaw to begin the process of long-term borrowing through an alternative approval process, otherwise known as an AAP, to partially fund the Victoria Road South Upgrades Project. Under the community charter, long-term borrowing must be approved by electors either through an assent vote, which is a referendum, or through an AAP. At the October 15th Committee of the Whole, Council and Committee resolved to borrow required funds of $843,470 to be recovered through a 0.57 property tax increase equating to approximately $25.20 annually for an average household, and a 1.55 water rate increase equating to $15.11 annually. Should the bylaw be given its first three readings, the bylaw will then be sent to the Inspector of Municipalities for review and approval. Upon receiving this approval, notice will be given in accordance with the community charter, and the AAP will begin on the last day of the notice. The AAP for the loan authorization bylaw 2024-35, subject to inspector approval, is set to begin on January 23rd, 2025. Attached to the report is the elector response form that those electors who are not in favor will be required to submit during the period in which the AAP is running. If an elector is in favor of council adopting the loan authorization bylaw, they then would not have to do anything. Council must set the deadline for elector response forms to be submitted. The deadline must be at least 30 days after the second publication of notice in a newspaper, and the deadline to submit elector response forms would be, or is proposed to be, Tuesday, February 25th, 2024 at 5 p.m. The corporate officer is then responsible for determining and certifying the results of the AAP. If 10% of the total number of electors within the district submit valid elector response forms by the deadline, then council may not proceed with the adoption of the loan authorization bylaw unless approval of the electors is obtained through a referendum. According to Elections BC, the total number of registered electors within the District of Summerland as of October 7th, 2024 is 10,029. This is the most recent provincial voters list extract. Approval of the electors for bylaw number 2024-035 would be obtained if the number of elector response forms for their bylaw received by the deadline is less than 1,002. Results of the AAP will be reported to council at the March 4th, 2025 regular meeting of council. And should there be any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To our corporate services director, is that is the 10% standard for all AAPs that go through? 10% is the number? Okay, thank you just for information.
I should update council. I was wrong in the numbers. The bylaws that are before council are correct. So 843,470 is the cost for the road construction of the multi-use pathway, and that's what will be recovered through the property tax. And then there's an additional $1.85 million to be recovered through the water rate increase, and that is for the water main installation portion of the project. So the total amount of borrowing is the $2,693,470,000. So I was wrong in my speaking notes, but all the documents before council are correct.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Chair.
This may be a bit of a silly question, but so the annual debt payments proposed to be recovered through a 1.5% water rate increase. Is that included in the rate increase that we did last week? Just,
Through the chair to Councillor Trainer.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's part of that increase already. I just wanted to be,
Oh, no, sorry, I'm just thinking, no, I believe these payments won't start until 2026, so they'll be included in next year's budget for 2026.
okay, so our increase this year was 8 for water. And this 1.55 will come on next year in 2026.
For 2026.
Okay.
So it hasn't been included in any of the water.
Okay,
That's utility
what
budget.
I thought, I just wanted to confirm. Thank you for that.
7.35 technically, but 7 + 1 in September.
Right,
thank
you.
Councillor Trainer,
Yeah.
Councillor Peak.
That was a good question, Councillor Trainer. Thank you. Mine is that these go out and depending on the response from the public, they will come forward and we will be authorized to borrow those funds. Should they not be authorized to be borrowed, do the charges to the servicing utilities still apply and they would still move forward?
Through the chair to Councillor Peak, if we do receive more than the 1,002 elector response forms, council would not be able to adopt the bylaws as we would not have elector assent. So we would either need to hold a referendum to then to go through the process to borrow, or we would have to wait a period of time before we could run another process, but we wouldn't be allowed to borrow. So these funds there'd be no rate increases.
So the rate increases that we did on the utilities as part of the budget thing would not move forward if the authorization is not approved?
This is next year.
This is for next year.
Oh, I'm mixing up. Thank you. It's good to be set straight.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. This is kind of a segue into what Councillor Peak was just talking about. When we went through our utility budgets this year and when we'll be going into our general, every time that we do an AAP and we talk whether it's going to be a parcel tax or it's going to be a interest rate a increase to property tax, what happens is we'll be dealing with this percentage rate in 2025. So besides our obligations, our contractual obligations that we're already going to be seeing, we're going to be dealing with future interest rate or future interest charges on property tax. And I for one, would rather see us utilize property tax where it is a one line item on your property tax rather than a percentage increase on our property taxes, which over the course of 20, 25 years would be compounded on an annual basis because of the amount that our property taxes will be increased. So anyway, that's for me. And I'm not sure if this is set in stone, if the AAP goes through, if this will come back to council in regards, or if this is set in stone that it will be going to property tax increase.
Through the chair to Councillor Patton, yes, if council gives these bylaws the first 3 readings as written, we cannot change it when it comes back to council, so it will have to be recovered through the way that it is written in the bylaw. So this one does propose the property tax for part of the project, and then for the water part of the project would be through the water rate increase.
Thank you so much. And I think that's a slippery slope for all of us because come budget year next year when we're doing utilities in October, we are going to be reminded that we did almost a 0.6% increase to our property taxes that's going to hit us in 2025 that we're going to be dealing with at that time. So I know it's 6 of one, 6 of the other, but I truly am a fan of having a flat rate that never changes, especially for when we're doing infrastructure upgrades like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure what Councillor Patton says when he's in favor of a flat rate that never changes, because the charge for this item will remain the same regardless of what, as a portion of our taxes, although taxes may go up, I guess I shouldn't use that word, will, for other things. The amount that we pay for this interest, for this payment would be this, the total amount would be the same. So even if your property values go up, only if it's yours goes up relative to more than your neighbors, would you ever pay more? So it's a fixed dollar amount that we pay. It doesn't go up. If property taxes go up 6%, it doesn't mean that the amount we pay for this goes up 6%. It's still the same. All other things being equal.
Councillor Pat.
Thank you, Councillor Bergwald. If it's $10 this year, it's going to be $10 that we pay municipal finance board. And I agree with you 100% there. What is going to change is if you have $1,000 taxes and we have a 6%, it's going to increase. So whether our payments go up to municipal, that's not the point here. The point is that money's, because we will be paying more on a yearly basis in regards to that.
Councillor Sparkle.
Well, we don't have our director of finance here, but it doesn't necessarily go up. If it's a 1% tax amount this year, for that, it'll be maybe 0.99%, and the other percentage can be used or would be used for other things, or it would reduce. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would increase taxes in following years by 1% again and again and again. It's not like the when we charge it to and collect it from general revenue, that's all we're collecting, and then we start from zero again the next year on the budgeting and say we have X amount of dollars that we need to collect for roads and X for payments of various types and loan payments and such, and it all could wind up being a lesser percentage the following year. So I maybe it's a discussion we should have with Mr. Silvestri.
Is basically what you're saying, Councillor Patton, is that it's, for optics, it's not on your property tax. It's a separate line that identifies what this is for. And in which case, it's just how we communicate it, right?
Thank you, Worship. Very eloquently said.
Councillor Trainer.
When we hand out our, that information slip that goes along with the property tax every year, is there a spot on there that shows the projects that we are currently paying for through any kind of process like this, so people know what they're paying for? And is that something that's difficult to do? Because I think, as a taxpayer, knowing, okay, well, these are the things that, last year they committed to this, so this has been added to the list. Because I know it's not totally related, but I can kind of see where Doug's coming from. And, we're approving a lot of these lately. And so after a while, they kind of just start to blend together. So I think if we are able to show people what they've, approved, that would be good.
CEO.
Yeah, through the mayor, we could take a look at that and see what we could do more there that we're not currently doing for this upcoming cycle.
Thank you. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually find that really interesting because there's lots of residents to Summerland who've moved here within the past 5 years. So you're only aware of projects that have been approved recently. But as we found out, even with the sewer, and now we're doing this at the primary clarifier, and residents were saying, well, my parcel tax just finished for the first one. Why are we doing another one? But what I'm trying to say is that there's 20 years of borrowing already on the books that are mid-cycle. And it would be interesting to know actually where we are with that. And at least for council to see what kind of borrowing we are already actually committed to. But I think in the bigger picture, it really does speak to how municipalities finance infrastructure. And that's not just simply on Summerland, that's across the board. And so having an understanding about how communities actually finance their infrastructure is important knowledge for everybody.
Councillor Peak.
Very good discussion. I would appreciate the clarification of that possibility for communication purposes, because over the time that I've sat on council and then wasn't on council and came back again, people are always talking about, well, why aren't you investing more? We need more roads looked after. We've got old infrastructure, whether it's water or sewer mains. And so those discussions are out in the public domain. If they were able to see the investments that they were actually doing and it's communicated through that kind of very transparent line on the insert that goes out for the taxes, it would be a continual reminder that your council is looking at the investments for your community and that we actually spread them over the 20 or 25 years. So you are taking advantage of what you get to use in your lifetime on your property or in your home. And those costs are spread over the people who will come after you and live in the property. And the fact that your council is taking care of it, the corporation in your community in a very proactive way. So I think that opportunity would be very good.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Chair.
I'll bring this forward as presented.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Betts. Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Loan authorization for the Wharton Street upgrades, corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So the process and timelines that I outlined previously will apply to this loan authorization bylaw as well, so I won't get into them. I did double check my numbers from this one. So the loan authorization bylaw 2024-36 is to fund the Wharton Street upgrades or Wharton Street revitalization program or project. Again, at the October 15th, 2024 Committee of the Whole, Council and Committee resolved to borrow the required funds of $3,365,080 to be recovered through a property tax increase of 2.26, which will cost the average home approximately $40.26 per year. And this again would begin in 2026. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions council may have regarding the AAP or this loan authorization bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Council questions? Is this the new one up on the screen? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Peak.
I will bring the motion forward.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Trainer. And no discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? Not opposed, that carries. Moving on to 9.4.
Excuse me, Mayor Holmes, I'm just going to recuse myself from this, just because I am involved in it and I do have a pecuniary interest.
Okay.
I need to learn how to say that word.
Yeah.
I tried. Okay, thank you.
This is regarding the deputy mayor position review and corporate officer, please.
Thank you again, Mayor Holmes. So at the November 7th, 2022 inaugural meeting of council established the deputy mayor position, appointing Councillor Trainer to the position for a 4-year term. Council additionally resolved that the deputy mayor appointment be reviewed after 2 years. In accordance with this direction, council may provide direction on the appointment of the deputy mayor position, and I'm happy to take any questions should council have any.
Anybody, any questions? No? Councillor, yeah, go ahead. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased with the way things are going. I think it's a good mix that we've got a young lady with 3 children representing a whole different demographic in our community. We have the young and the, well, not so young. I think it's a great mix and sorry, no. And I'm happy with the way things are going. I'd like to see it continue.
Thank you. Councillor Peak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a lot of concerns when this came up, especially at our inaugural meeting. I felt it was a rather controversial issue to come at a time that we wanted to do a celebration of a new mayor and reconstituted council mix. So I did have concerns. I feel that councillors are here to represent the community in many ways, and I understood that some of it was that in previous years, councillors would have represented as a deputy position for 3 months at a time. And some felt that there was a lack of continuity with that, and some felt that some members were not particularly interested in doing that position. I would have liked to see it go to a year time, and everyone who wished to participate, and not always at council do all of council wish to participate on a rotational basis. But it does give an opportunity to practice a skill set, and if the duties of that particular position was for a year or two, this is at a 2-year term, or was a review at a 2-year term. But that would give other council members an opportunity to practice their skills for chairing a committee of the whole, for doing that liaison work with the mayor and the staff. And I think that those skills acquired are very good ones. At the time that this report came forward through the mayor at the inaugural meeting, part of that report said that it would be a good opportunity to bring people up to a skills level. And there was a recommendation for a particular councillor to be on that, to be assigned to this particular position, to give them an opportunity for training should they wish to come on as mayor. And I think that opportunity should be afforded to more than just one person in a term. So I would like to see it go to a rotation for a year at a time, and that other council members who wish to sign up to be on as deputy mayor for a year's time could do that. And I don't know that everybody will take advantage of that. We all have different skill sets and different working lives or volunteering time or whatever we do and the other things in our part-time position as councillors. But I felt that portions of what this person does in terms of work has been helpful. It also has been recommended by a mayor who is very good at who is a very good journalist and a good writer. And I think that that person has done an exceptional job and perhaps been given more opportunity because the deputy mayor position allowed a little more reflection during committee of the whole, which may be important to certain individuals. I've said at the head of the council, sometimes it's hard to get to your words in when you're the chairperson in every facet of a mayor's position. So I understand the opportunity is a good one. I think the opportunity to have the meetings with staff is an excellent thing. But again, I would like to see it afforded to more people on council.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Betts?
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor. You know, for me, I came in, I obviously as the newest face and with the least experience on a municipal council. And so I feel like this relationship has worked well. I'm like Mr. Van Alphen, or Councillor Van Alphen, thinking that it went very smoothly for me. On council, I feel like it's been functioning really well. The role of deputy mayor, I think there's good continuity with mayor and deputy and senior staff in creating the agenda. I think one way to think also in an open way about this is that the relationship between the mayor and the deputy mayor may not always flow so smoothly. And so having that opportunity to review who's sitting at the table actually might be a positive thing. If there were any situations where there was a situation of loggerheads between mayor and deputy mayor. So I'm open to the discussion, but at this time I'm happy with how it's going with our council. But when I think ahead to how it could be that with just different people in the chairs, do we want to build in a mechanism for review or somebody staying in the same position so that there can be opportunity for change if it's not working very well? So that's more where I'm sitting. I'm not certain how to create that change, but it's just, I don't think there's a problem now. But in the opportunity, you can see that it could arise. So that's.
Councillor Pat?
Thank you, Worship. I agree with Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Betts. I think though, in regards to future, it would be dependent on the newly elected mayor and council if the deputy position is something they wanted to continue with, or perhaps they wanted to go to, monthly, or if the mayor was waiting, how it used to be, which was fine also. But I agree. I think we've got a flow that happens right now, and I do agree that you have a mayor, and if the deputies bumping heads, that could be a bit of an issue, and I'm not sure how that could even be rectified, to tell you the truth, without another council member jumping in. But anyway, here nor there. I'm happy with the status quo on how it's been.
Councillor Peak?
I want to acknowledge, and I think it's important to say, we've never had a deputy mayor position before. It's not elected, it's appointed. And I want to say that I think it's an important position as a deputy mayor, and perhaps more so in the last 7 or 8, maybe 9 years, because I think the world has got more complex, and I think the role of mayor is more difficult than it used to be, and to have somebody that shares that role is important. So I want to say that I really appreciate the fact that we have that role. I may be looking for it to have a change, but that will be majority vote. But I just want to say that I think the role of deputy mayor has been most effective, and I think it's a good thing to have for the mayoralty position to have that assist.
Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, the only way that I can think about amending this really would be to continue to review the position after set periods of time being open to change. Right now, the motion on November 7th, 2024 was that Councillor Trainer be appointed as deputy mayor for 4 years, and further that the deputy mayor appointment be reviewed after 2 years. So is that something that would continue on the way that the motion is stated, that every 2 years this position it was only after this appointment that after 2 years it would be amended? Thank you, reviewed.
Imagine it all starts at ground zero again after election, but corporate officer.
Through the mayor, Councillor Betts. So after the inaugural meeting, staff brought forward a council procedure bylaw amendment. So while the motion was for this specific appointment, the council procedure bylaw does require that the mayor bring forward a recommendation at the beginning of the term, following the inaugural meeting, for a council member to act as a deputy mayor for the 4-year period. So this was different because it was direction set by a motion, but if we were to follow the procedure bylaw for the 2026 to 2030 term, we wouldn't be reviewing it in the middle unless council wanted to.
Councillor Van Elfen, then Barkle.
Well, I don't know if it's the appropriate time, but I would put option 1 forward. Continue with the current deputy mayor appointment.
Okay, do I have a seconder? And we'll continue discussion. Councillor Patton. Okay, Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by our own motion. I kind of was at the time, but thought I'd ignore it. Because when it says that the Councillor Trainer be appointed as a deputy mayor for 4 years, does that mean she's appointed for 4 years? Or does it mean that when we review it after 2 years, we rescind the 4-year appointment and could potentially appoint somebody else? doesn't really address that question. And here we are appointing her for another 2 years when she's already been appointed for 4 years. So is that even necessary? What does this review encompass? Does it require us to confirm her appointment and confirm her rate? If it doesn't give us, do we have the option of, anyway, perhaps I'll ask directly to our corporate officer, is that an option under this bylaw?
Through the mayor to Councillor Barkle, anything's an option for council. You can bring forward a motion at any time. If we were to follow Councillor Van Elfen's direction, if I were to word a motion based on his, the motion actually would just be to receive the report for information because Councillor Trainer has been appointed for the 4-year term. So unless there is a change or a council member wanted to bring forward a change, the status quo motion would be that just the report is received for information and that resolution that the deputy mayor or the current deputy mayor be appointed for the 4 years.
That's what I thought. Councillor Barkle?
The whole idea of a deputy mayor is, I'm sure in this particular case, it's great, but it sure raises questions like, what if the mayor said he didn't want a deputy? Or what if council imposed a deputy on him because you've got conflicts such as in Kamloops where the mayor doesn't seem to want to do what the rest of council wants, and you think, well, it's a good idea to have a deputy as a counterpoint for this particular mayor, and yet they're not going through playing nice in the sandbox together. I guess those are questions we don't have to worry about because things are going well here, and I'll support the reappointment.
Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the reason I'm continuing the conversation is just for better understanding. So because I'm in support of Deputy Mayor Trainer continuing, I think our council functions so well. I think we're very fortunate. And that's such a good example is that Kamloops is not. And I think that that's why we have the council code of conduct, is to help us stay on track. And so the reason I'm saying this is that at the beginning of the next term, Councillor Trainer, it was my impression that she was decided upon because she received the highest number of votes under the councillors. But other than that, I really am unaware of the reasoning for that appointment. And I was very new. I really didn't fully grasp the role. So moving forward, if we're going to have this position, is it because it's appointed? I'm just trying to have a better understanding of how we move forward to determine who that person is and how we work best together as a council and beyond just each of us as individuals, but in our roles.
So the way I believe the bylaw is written is that the mayor will put forward a name of a councillor that to be the deputy mayor. And then it's either approved or not approved by council. And if it's not approved, presumably then the mayor would put forward another name, right? And maybe, have to put 6 names forward before one's approved. But that's for council to figure out, right? So for me, I don't see the deputy mayor position as kind of a mayor in training kind of position. So I think the mayor is going to put forward a name of someone who they believe they can work with, and the deputy mayor Trainer and we work very well together, and we work well as a team, and I rely on her. I think to be like a second set of eyes on a lot of emergency and pressing issues. As Councillor Van Elfen says, she does represent a different demographic than I do, and that's quite valuable for having an alternative perspective on things. She critiques just about everything I write and say and put out to the public. As they say, every writer needs an editor, and so she's kind of my editor. And we don't have a communications department, not really. And so the deputy mayor and I sit down with the CEO and corporate officer regularly and go through our communication plan. And we've become kind of the de facto communications department. Not saying that's what we, ought we, but that's what it is. And the benefit isn't just to me, I think it's to all of us on council, because it's really important that council decisions are communicated. And we can be doing all kinds of great things, but if people don't know about it, then what's the point? And so the deputy mayor, I think the deputy mayor needs to work well with the mayor, but also the deputy mayor has to have the respect and confidence of council. And I'd like to think, like, we talked about Kamloops. If the Kamloops mayor had to choose one of the councillors to put forward as a deputy mayor, and the council, the same process, I think that would resolve a lot of their problems. And all these, we read about it just about regularly in the municipal world daily newsletter that we get about all these problem councils. The mayor and the councillors are attacked, but to throttle each other's necks, and we don't have that here. And maybe everything would be great even in the old system, but maybe not. But I do think that deputy mayor who works with the mayor and has the confidence of council creates a kind of a bridge. And she kind of keeps the mayor in his place, and I'm okay with that. And because the person who occupies that position, I have full confidence in her ability. And I think the purpose of the review, why we're here today, is to ensure that the deputy mayor still has confidence of council. And if she does, then she should remain as deputy mayor to ensure that stability and continuity. Alternating positions would just be disruptive in my view. We I think have a good thing going, and let's just keep it going. So that's my view. Councillor Barkwell.
What you say is all true. I just, I'm thinking about the whole concept. Hopefully you have a deputy mayor that is complementary to the mayor. Or if you think your mayor is particularly weak in something, you appoint somebody, but that's not the case. We have, she's complementary in that she's a female, he's a male or something. And I could see in some communities where it would just be an old crony pair, old crony or young crony or something, and you'd have somebody who's too much like the mayor and they think too much alike. But I guess we can only deal with what we have here, and I think it's it's working well, and so I'm ready to vote.
Well, I'd say that if that's why you need council approval. And if you have a council of old cronies, then you're going to have a couple old cronies, yeah. But hopefully people won't return a bunch of old cronies, so only some old cronies. Councillor Peak.
Thank you. Well, for the reasons I've stated before, I won't support this because I would like to see it rotate. And I think that all of the councillors that we have are individuals that could sit in this position. I would like to see it rotate every 2 years, and we would only have one choice in a term, because as has been explained, it's in the bylaw, it would come back every time there's a new council. So only for those reasons, I will vote against it. It is not a character reference. It's to talk about how the role is put through as part of the structure of council.
Okay, thank you. No further comment. I'll call the question. So we're receiving for information, right? That's the motion. Yeah. But it's not really, yeah. Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? Counselor Peak opposed? Yeah,
So this is the motion, but in the report, it talks about council will provide direction on appointment of the deputy mayor.
Through the chair to Councillor Peak, so just providing direction. It's not up to staff to give advice to council on the direction of the deputy mayor. So the motion was written that council provide direction on where they see the appointment going. So in the options, one of the options was that the current appointment remain. In order for that to go back to the original motion on the November 7th in 2022, this would be the wording to continue with that.
Okay, then I'll leave mine as an opposition just because of the structure of it.
okay. So that motion passes. Yeah, thank you, Joe. So you got that, corporate officer? Yeah, okay. So we'll just wait for the deputy mayor to return. And then we'll move on to the 2025 council meeting schedule and that corporate officer.
I think this is my last one, so thank you, Mayor Holmes. So before council is the proposed 2025 council meeting schedule drafted in accordance with the council procedure bylaw. The council procedure bylaw sets council meetings on a 3-week rotation beginning the 3rd Tuesday in January of each year. The proposed 2025 schedule schedules a total of 17 meeting dates throughout the year, which is the same as 2024. And should council have any questions regarding the schedule, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was going through this, I believe I saw 2 meetings that were on Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. Is that correct?
Yes.
October and November. Because of the stat holiday, that's the main reason? You can dispute that. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Malcolm,
Move the resolution.
second. Councilor Peak. Any further discussion? Councilor Betts?
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge my gratitude that the council meeting isn't falling after every single long weekend of the year.
Councilor Peak.
I think our rotation of 3 weeks has worked very well, both for the public and for council. So I'm pleased to see us continuing that in the following year.
Okay, great. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. So we now move on to the items removed from consent, 4.4AD, that would be the mines correspondence. Councillor Peak.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring it forward so that it's in the public domain. After the CEO's report, perhaps that's not necessary, but I just wanted to be there for all the interested parties in this particular item.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 4.4C, the chamber destination Summerland. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one, my question, I think, would be for either the corporate officer or CAO, but the letter received from Destination Summerland, former Chamber of Commerce, is speaking about using the basement of the City Hall building as a tourism center. I mean, I can see it for the Destination Summerland office space, but as a tourism center, as the Summerland Visitor Center, I just have a question about that, its viability in that way. Can you speak to that a little bit?
CEO.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councilor Betts, through the mayor. We do think it's viable. When we saw the letter come in, we kind of walked around down there, took a look. It has its own entrance to that space down the stairs in the front. And it also has access to public washrooms on that main floor. Has its own security system in that area. They'd be looking for one office and then the big main open area that is down there. And we have accommodated in the past the art gallery when we were doing the George Riga renovation. It seemed to work very well as a temporary space.
Councillor Betts?
Thank you. And so, from our understanding right now, is this just kind of an interim move, or are we looking at a longer term possibility of their residing at this location?
Yeah, through the mayor, again, thank you for the follow-up. And at this point, it looks like they're thinking about a year, but it could be a bit longer. Part of the discussion is, the time it might take for, I believe it's CPR and this rail car idea. There's a process that has to be worked through there. But we continue to liaise with them and we'll look at land options the district has. We might place that car, but they are still aiming for about that 1 year mark. What they identify in the letter is that, that maybe it would be, I think it says in here, I haven't looked at it lately, but yeah, year by year basis, but it's not meant to happen in perpetuity. They really want to move to their new location once they get that rail car.
Okay, Councillor Patton and then Mark.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, CAO. Yeah, that was the Destination Summerland is looking at CP Rail to get that car for their Destination Summerland office. So I think that allowing them to have a place since the building in which they're located is sold, that this gives them a viable option down, in the basement while they get things together with CP Rail and deal with the district, of course, in regards to where this rail car is going to go. So more news to come. Thanks.
Councillor Barkle?
So is this request going to come before council so we can have a discussion and resolution on an agreement? Yes.
Or do we just put a resolution forward now?
Honestly, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just prefer direction. We can make it happen. It's a nominal lease, which was what we currently have with them. So unless there's a concern, we could do something up and just get the show on the road.
Councillor Barkle?
Yes, my concern is that somewhere along the line, this plan for a railway location, train car location, which I think is great and would offer all the support and assistance we needed, it might not come to fruition, and they're down there, and somehow it turns into some sort of obligation of the district to provide accommodation in perpetuity, and that's not our thing. They had a building, that's in a nutshell my concern. And so I'd like to see us come forward with a discussion of this and a proper resolution for an agreement and approval of an agreement.
Okay. Councillor Trainer?
Do we want a motion now then, or? I would support them. I hear what you're saying about making sure that it doesn't end up being something that we don't want it to be. I think that our relationship with Destination Summerland has improved greatly over the last while, and I really like what they're doing. And I don't see them wanting to stay in the basement because it's not really the ideal location to be showcasing our town from our basement. So I would assume they would have a desire to find a place too, but I would be okay with, allowing them a year. And then with the understanding that it's their responsibility to find their next place and that we're doing this, to help them, but that they are responsible for finding their next place sooner than later.
Plus, that's my new office. We'll ask CAO for advice on procedure here.
You were going to put you in the sub basement, actually. You probably don't know about that. Thank you for the, I think, a reasonable word of caution, as people get set in and, time passes. what they ask for is 1 year renewable on a year-by-year basis, but maybe it's just a 1 year lease with an option for 1 single-year renewal or something like that. I don't think they plan on staying, but in any case, whatever we craft in terms of a lease ought to come back to council because we need authorization. So it would just be to get us I guess we have a motion that a corporate officer is prepared. If we want to see her, or do you want to read that out? How do you want to do that?
I'll read it out and then I'll put it up on the screen in a second. So the direction we'd be seeking today, that staff be directed to prepare a lease agreement between Destination Summerland and the District of Summerland for council consideration for the rental of a portion of the basement of Municipal Hall for a 1 year term with the option for a 1 year renewal. And so that means the lease agreement, once it's drafted, will come back before council to review the lease agreement and then to have a resolution of authorization to enter into it.
Does somebody want to put that forward? Counselor Peak, do I have a seconder? Counselor Trainer. Okay, further discussion? Counselor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this might be a question for Dana, for our Director of Procurement, but just trying to understand the tenant request for a $1 per year lease. I know that that's what it's previously been, but we're kind of moving out of that relationship. So I'm just trying to better understand. I don't know if this is the right place to ask these questions, but about that relationship at that dollar amount.
Through the mayor, Destination Summerland is a not-for-profit organization, so we're able to provide them a $1 a year lease. If they were a business, we wouldn't be allowed to do so. If that helps.
I think it's just recognized they are in tradition. We are selling that building and their new home, wherever that may be, whether it's a rail car or not, or somewhere else, isn't ready. And it's just giving them some time. So that's the way I see it, but we can not approve the lease when it comes to us if we choose not to. Councillor Peak?
I think this is a good compromise. We're doing an MRDT. There will be more monies available in the future for marketing opportunities, and that may be related with Destination Summerland, but in recognition of the changing circumstances for themselves and the relationship we've had in the past and that we wish to maintain in the very future, I think this is perfectly acceptable.
Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Moving on to 4.5A, which is the Development Services Report. And who wanted that pulled? Councillor Peak?
I did, now I can't find it. I wanted to comment on the fact that we have had an increase in applications and the monies that we're receiving for permits. That was one of it. Also the fact that and I'm going by memory, that the bylaw work that is being done was very effective, although we've had an increase in September, and that secondary position has proved to be very important. So I'm wondering if our planning director would like to have any comments on those. Maybe I'll find the report in the meantime, because there was a couple of other things.
Mr. Dollop?
To your worship, Councillor Peak. Thanks for the opportunity to pull this report and talk about some of the activities in the Development Services Department. Yeah, September, we did see an uptick in the number of permits issued, as well as the construction value issued in the month of September. I think we're past now into October and then also moving into November, we are seeing more activity for, I would say, more complex projects. So higher level review required. And thankfully we have some new staff. It's also identified in my report, helping us out with some of those projects. So a casual senior building official who's got a lot of years of experience helping us with that. And also a local contractor who's now made the jump into public service. So really excited about our building department, but they are very busy right now. And then for the bylaw side, yeah, I think the seasonal approach worked really well this year with the additional complement to our full-time bylaw officer, and that individual we had hired was able to do a lot of files, and some of it was fairly high profile stuff, and she's got a lot of good experience from it, and so hoping to continue that into next year. Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you. If I may, I found my papers. I wanted to emphasize the fact that we have two new acquires in terms of the building department, and the one person has level 3. My question would be, are they on call for the buildings that we need them for?
Through your worship, to Councillor Peak, yes and no. This individual is retired, so obviously we're managing competing priorities when you're a retired individual. She's been able to help us for the time being right now, because we don't have a full building official. And we may need to complement her with another level 3 that might be in a very similar type of situation. We have a few ideas on that. But thankfully, she's been wanting to work with us, and she's been fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. To Councillor Peak. Danny worked for me at the city of Kelowna. Well, I was there for my 13 years in Kelowna, and I believe she was well into 25 years at the city of Kelowna. A phenomenal building inspector. And Nick Brom, who is a district contractor who came to is now level 1 building inspector. These two hires actually made me excited, because we have had such a problem with our inspection team that when you see people that come on board that will have the common sense approach that these two are coming to us with, this is municipal changing, to tell you the truth. So I think that kudos to Brad, kudos to Marnie, to our CAO for actually getting these two people to come on board, because it is a huge breath of fresh air. Thanks.
Good. It's good to see you excited. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brad, this question is actually about the good neighbor bylaw. And I know that we were kind of corresponding with a resident having issues with perhaps their neighbor burning, not the right materials in their home fireplaces. Are there any updates or awareness piece that we can share with our residents of Summerland about what is or isn't allowed to be burned in their home fireplaces?
To your worship, to Councillor Betts, yeah, we do have a good neighbor bylaw in place currently. It does have a section on smoke and nuisances happening, and other types of nuisances, whether it smells, another one could be noise, it could be another one, that are happening from an individual's property and having an impact on the neighborhood. Sometimes those are really hard to determine the extent of that impact. Generally, our officers use some discretion on that, and usually if we see a larger neighborhood concern of an impact, that results into more immediate action by our officers. But we're always trying to diligently move forward with bylaw enforcement complaints that come through our door, and but we do have some prescribed criteria as well in that bylaw, and that bylaw was reviewed, I think it was in 2021, so it's not that old, and we did review that section, so we haven't had on our plans to review it in the near future.
Thank you. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was very pleased to hear this chap's real enthusiasm. Thank you very much, Councillor Patton. Part of wanting to highlight the report was that I'm very pleased we were able to fill the gaps that we have. And my question would be, is Nick Bram interested in moving forward through the other portions of the building official?
Through your worship to Councillor Peak. Yes, I think in addition to Tristan Hammersley, our other building official, the three of them together, they're all interested in progressing in their careers with the District of Summerland and leveling up, which is something that we're wanting to support them on. And Nick's just starting with us, but he's very motivated, as you can imagine. So I think, yeah, they're going to be on their path to hopefully progress with us at the District of Summerland.
Very pleased to hear it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barkle?
I too am happy to see Councillor Patton smile. Not too often we get that, especially during budget time. I think maybe that we have these two people speaks to the what a wonderful place Summerland is to live. And that's how we can attract people. In the correspondence section, there was some discussion about which correspondence from the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation we were pulling. We spoke to attachment A. Didn't we pull attachment D as well? Or somebody said both, and I'm not sure where it went.
Yeah, I just pulled both.
Yeah.
So we're going back to that?
If I could,
Okay.
I just want to speak to the inadequacy of some of these answers. They're non-answers, particularly when it comes to the impact on roads. You know, I mean, that doesn't deal with the issue. And consultation, it doesn't have any specifics at all, doesn't let us know that there was even, they said there was some, they haven't said what or anything, which is, I think, purposefully vague. Where do we go with this? Do we respond to this, or are we just going to maybe press them for further details and is it pointless and we just pass it on for the next steps?
Maybe we can speak about that in camera. Okay, one other item was asked to be pulled. That's the, I believe, 4.5B, a procurement report. Councillor Barkle?
Yes, that was me, Your Worship. I'm just trying to load that. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong one. Let me just pull that up. It was B, yeah, okay. So it has a $496,000 item for brushing for about a 4-month term this year. And I was just trying to figure out, because we just finished going through the utility budgets, where the heck that amount is in our utility budget, because, you know, it's the only thing, brushing is expected to be 150,000. And even contracted services, which probably includes a whole pile of other things, is only 150,000. So how does it work with our municipal accounting that we have this $500,000, but I don't see it in the budget?
CO.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have our Director of Utilities actually on the Zoom portion. So Jeremy, if you want to chime in there, and there you are. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you, Councillor, for the question through Mayor Holmes. So what we've done for this, we wanted to increase our budget spending on brushing for 2024 because, of course, trees make the community beautiful, but they also pose a significant risk for the electric utility and for fire hazard. And actually, in electric utilities for this part of the world, tree contacts are the major source of power outages, along with animal contacts. So it is a risk. We had a lot of comments from residents earlier in the year and a councillor as well about some of the brushing, and we had some concerns brought forward. So we also had a number of call outs earlier in the year as well. So we increased our brushing spending, and we pulled from, so we do this often in the utility budgets where a need comes up and we need to pull maybe cancel another project or put something on hold or what have you to pivot and address an issue. So that's what we've done in the electric utility. We pulled from some contractor fees that we were planning on spending in our operation and maintenance budget and in our admin. Also, we have some planned map updates that we put on hold as well. We have some system maintenance work that we were planning that we've also just put on hold. That would be our test and treat and some of our meter maintenance. So yeah, we just pull little bits from here and there and kind of bring that together to address whatever the risk is of the day or the hazard of the day. So that's what we've done here.
Councillor Parkville?
Well, I mean, we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars here. We're talking a couple of $100,000. So it seems to me that the estimated 2024 actual that we're given isn't really very close to actual. If there's, $500,000 that was spent on brushing and it's not reflected in this budget materials and other things, I guess are overstated in their actuals because you have actually spent less. There has to be a better way of providing this information because you sort of look at what was budgeted, what was spent, what you did actually last year, these things, and this one is, it's too far out to be making proper decisions. Too bad Dave isn't here because he would be the one that would reallocate those expenditures to the proper accounts. But that's how it should be presented. There's just no question. And I think maybe it's, we've approved the budget now, but I guess all I can say is for next year, let's get a little closer.
Okay, thank you. I think that's noted. Yeah. So we'll need a motion to receive these various correspondence and reports. Councillor Van Alphen, Councillor Betts. I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Now resolution to close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 91 C, E, G, and I of the community charter. Councillor Betts, Councillor Van Alphen, all in favor? And that carries. 5-minute break. Okay. 2:46.